It's easy to miss God. That's such a weird thing to say. I mean, it's like saying it's easy to miss a 6'8", 300-pound lineman inside of a kindergarten. I'm like, God is so enormous. He's so huge. And yet, as humans, we have this uncanny ability to miss him. To miss him when he shows up. To miss him whenever he takes care of us. To miss him when he rebukes us. To live life and completely miss him. How do we do this, and how do we help it stop? That's what I want to wrestle with this week. The passage, though, I want to look at is from Isaiah chapter 5. Now, Isaiah chapter 5 is actually a pretty depressing, a pretty brutal text. It's a text of judgment. And that's not going to be my point today, but that is the context. But I want to begin reading Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1. And I want you to pay attention to the first comment I made for this week. That it's easy to overlook God. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1. I will sing for the one I love a song about his vineyard. So the prophet is singing a song for God about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up, cleared it of stones, and planted it with the choicest vines, selecting each vine meticulously to plant and to allow it to grow. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a wine press as well. Notice all the things that he's doing. He's digging it up, the soil, which is not an easy job. He clears it of stones, which is laborious. He plants it with the choicest vines, which is meticulous. He built a watchtower in it, which is almost overkill. And then he cut out a wine press as well, so that you don't just produce the fruit, but the fruit can then produce further fruit. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Verse 3, now you dwellers in Jerusalem and people of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. The Lord is now speaking. What more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? What more could have been done? I mean, name another thing that this vineyard owner could have done for the vineyard in order to give it the greatest opportunity to produce fruit. What more could have been done? And then he says, when I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? Something's not right here. And it's easy to blame the one that has worked on the vineyard. But at a certain point, maybe the problem's the vineyard. That's the text right here today. That's not my point for today, but that is the text. Go down to verse 7 and it reiterates this point. The vineyard of the Lord God Almighty is the nation of Israel. See, that's where Isaiah is writing to them. And the people of Judah are the vines he delighted in. That's who he's writing to. And he looked for justice, but saw bloodshed. He looked for righteousness, but heard cries of distress. Now, I'm not going to focus on the judgment of the nation of Israel, because the application could be easy. You know, what are you doing that's not producing fruit? That's not my point for this week. My point for this week is this. I think it's important for us at times to stop, to look back over what's happened in our life. In a moment of reflection, ask this. Where do I see the owner of the vineyard tending to his vineyard? Where do I see God in the midst of my story? It's incredible how easy it is to overlook God's presence in our story, especially in the present. It's easy to overlook God in the present and worry that he won't be there in the future. But the practice of reflecting, the practice of stopping and taking time to look back over your life, something that we saw last week with Solomon and Ecclesiastes, to look back over your life and to wrestle with the question, where is God? What I have found in my own story is that even in the moments where I was raging, when I take time to prayerfully reflect, I see God everywhere. I see him moving. I see him clearing out stones. I see him digging up the dirt. I see him creating a watchtower. I see him digging out a winepress. I see him preparing for the fruit of his loved one. Notice that's how it begins. The loved one. The one that we love and the one that has chosen to love us. This is my challenge for you this week. Take time to stop, to create space, and to look back on maybe even just the past year, maybe the past 5 years, maybe the past 20 years, and ask yourself the question, where is God? It's easy to overlook God in the present and worry that he won't be there in the future. But if we take time to reflect, we will see that God is consistently a part of our story because we are his vineyard. And our loved one loves us dearly. I love you guys. Have a good week.